how am I managing to have fun during this pandemic? The last couple of months I've been vlogging my breakdancing progression, and that's one way. Another way has been through creativity in general. The last week I've focused on travel arts, which is something that I've been needing to start, but have taken some time to get around to. What do I mean by travel arts? I am coining a new term, which is art that's travel inspired. So arguably I did this a couple weeks ago when I choreographed a tutting dance, which is an Egypt-inspired modern dance style that relies on the 90-degree angles as per hieroglyphics from ancient Egypt. But people who've hosted me on my travels know that I'm actually an artistic person in my whole being. So this week I created many shadow boxes with travel inspired themes. This is one I created for someone else, which is why I've snuck a little piece to cover their face. But this box equally applies to me because I've also explored 7 continents. So, my art is upcycling. Some may recognize this as a chocolate box, and it is. Purdy's Chocolates actually present their chocolates in these beautiful boxes that would be a shame to just toss into a landfill. So I upcycle. Using Purdy's very own box and wrap. Now, I've represented all 7 continents, and in a thematically relevant way to the way that I explored the 7 continents. So, if I lift the travel artifacts are easier to see. All of these have been handcrafted by local artisans, except for this, which I handcrafted myself. I'll start with this first because this is my handicraft. I've mentioned before that I collected sand from many different places. This sand is from the Arabian Peninsula, specifically from the country of the United Arab Emirates, where there's 5 different types of sand mixed into this bottle. Now, this is the first time I've mixed sand ever in terms of my own collection, so I've been experimenting with different ways. In retrospect, I probably should have isolated colors, but the bottom 3 dark sands actually blended and were much more the same shade than I realized. So next time maybe I would isolate dark, light, dark. We'll see, maybe I'll make another one and show it next week. The sand is from my second most recent country, so we'll pretend that I made the box with theme from a couple months before my most recent country of Turkey. So we start from I guess you could call it sea to sky, because this is actually also available on sea, but I've upgraded it to sky status. It's actually my first major trip that I planned myself to Hawaii. Now we've covered 2 continents, which are Asia and North America. The next couple in order are South America, Antarctica, Australia, Europe, and Africa. So I had a lot of fun making this box and tying my travel journey together, although admittedly it's a little out of order because this was made for somebody else, but it's still relevant. I've always said that I would just cover their face with my picture, but I actually would rather avoid taping over their face and just slot it in something to cover their face for time being. The color themes actually came together very well. So we have the goldish, brownish, into orangish and purple motif, which I quite enjoy, because we happen to be comped many pretty boxes of chocolate by our clients. I continued using the rest of the boxes that I have for other themes of travel boxes. Oh yeah, I should mention that the rest of these artifacts are a map of Argentina in South America, a felt craft of an Antarctic penguin, a magnet crafted from local Australian wood, a Eiffel Tower hat on top of the penguin, and a hieroglyphic Egyptian necklace that spells my name. After this first shadow box, I became thoroughly obsessed with the idea of organizing and curating my travel artifacts. So I continued with another shadow box, again upcycling another Purdy's chocolate box. This one will be if I'm lucky, the stream will combine together into one. Otherwise, I'll just have to live with it being segmented into 2 this week. Technology feels like acting up how it wants to. So I'm moving on to my second shadow box. Shadow boxes are such named because they are boxes that have a 3D element to them, a depth, so that you can add 3D objects. I've been obsessed with these types of art projects since I was very young, but admittedly I've waited quite a while to come around to doing any art projects until now. But they've been a lot of fun. For this one, which is also a chocolate box upcycled, I did something a little different. I actually took a picture that we have, again, with identity covered, assuming that's me, and cut it up into the background squares so that if I take away the travel artifacts, behind it is actually a picture. The theme of this picture is, this is when I was younger, before actually seeing animals of the 7 continents live. I dreamed about it with fake ones, like this dolphin lawn manicured fake. But now I've since explored 7 continents, and it's majestic, marvelous animals. So again, we've got North America, South America, Australia, Asia, Europe, and Africa. Wonder if things are showing up well. Too bad, because this particular box, I just let them free hold inside of the tiny boxes on top of a table, because I prefer that instead of placing it down, because again, behind each animal is a section of picture. Maybe what I'll do is I'll actually remove the animals to show what the picture behind looks like. And again, that's why I refrain from gluing the animals in. There we go. Now, just to specify, actually, all of the pictures that I have used in my art projects are double set prints. So, of course, from the early 80s, 90s, and 2000s, I have printed pictures, and some, for whatever reason, we have some double prints. So I purposely use double prints to create my art projects. I have enough printed pictures that I could technically part with some single prints, but I prefer to just use up the double prints first, which does limit your project, but hey, it is what it is, right? Use what's available. This will be the hardest thing to see. I'll tilt it as much as I can. Some people might recognize a Ferrero Rocher box, and this is probably the #1 use of a Ferrero box, which is a currency display box. Anybody who's come across me during my travels might have noticed that I have a rather interesting collection obsession, which is local currency. What I normally do is I would normally just ask a local for the lowest denomination thing they have in terms of currency, or I find them, or people who are trying to offload their pockets of change offload it onto me. More rarely I will actually exchange money from before traveling or during traveling, although admittedly I like to stay away from cash as much as possible. I used to travel with cash, local currency, but I've since discovered that you can often horribly miscalculate how much you actually need and end up with leftover cash here and there. So I've preferred to use cards when possible. But let's see here. This is the second flight of 48 countries. Sometimes I've only been able to collect bills, so then I would have bills rolled up. This one from the country of Guyana in South America. I have coins from really all over. Some of my favorites are actually ones from Africa because they have their local animals engraved. For example, Tanzania has a pair of lions, if that's visible at all. I hope it is. It's hard to see sometimes with these streams. What else is interesting? Another currency that's made the news is Zimbabwe's. Many will recall that they had a complete collapse of their currency where you had billionaire, trillionaires walking around with their bills being worth nothing. In 2014, they replaced that currency with these bond coins that literally say bond on them. Yeah, 10-cent bond coin, if that's visible at all. Again, it's hard to know if I am actually showing these things at all. If I have trouble having things on camera, I'll just show them next week because this collection is the collection. Now, admittedly, I sometimes forget, and there are some currencies that are extremely hard to procure via the local exchange houses. These are called very, very exotic currencies where you mostly would only be able to access them if you've traveled to the country. One such country that I sorely missed was Lesotho, landlocked by South Africa. I traveled to 13 countries in Africa on that trip, 15 in total for me in the continent of Africa. But for whatever reason, that country completely escaped my mind. I have every other one, or have easy access to be able to exchange a little bit. But that one, I actually did something for the first time in ever. I bid on eBay for one and was able to procure one for relatively cheap. But that's because all I want is a coin. That's how desperate I'm getting to recapture my adventure travel mentality and mindset. I'm essentially buying souvenirs from abroad to remind me of what it's like to travel. But it's okay. It's something that I've been thinking about doing anyways, because when you're like me and you have, let's say, 99 of the 101 countries you've been to in their currency form, and you're missing 2, you're gonna just fucking complete the set. The other one that I was, for whatever reason, missing was Haiti. Again, it's hard to say whether I was actually missing Haiti or I've misplaced Haiti. That's something that I'll have to think about. But in any case, because people were selling just random coins online, I thought, okay, I'm gonna snap them up, because it's been something I thought about ever since I came back. It's really difficult. Again, if I were only having, let's say, 2 currencies of the 101 that I've been to, then obviously ain't worth completing a set. But if you're 99 of 101 and you're only missing 2, then I think it's well worth it, especially if they're affordable. The coins that I bought, admittedly, are low denomination, pennies, but I was able to procure them for a couple bucks each, so it's worthwhile to me. It's fine. Again, normally I would have saved my money, but this reminds me to be more disciplined then about my coin collecting. Or actually, you could argue I've been quite disciplined already. If you have 99 of 101, that's disciplined. I like to do it locally because it's a way for me to interact with locals and have a transaction that is cultural and enriching. I've found that people actually quite like to share their currency too, because they're proud of the designs and whatever they think it represents. So that was the last set of 48. My first set contains more bills. I'm stalling because I'm feeling dancing a lot less this week, but I'll still get around to it because I have some new choreography. This one I have a number of more bills because that's just the way it went. Sometimes in traveling I just do what I do. I try to get done what I get done. And what are some interesting ones here? All of them are interesting. So, in any case, I guess I'll hold it out again. It's hard to know sometimes whether things are coming out on camera, but suffice to say that it's an interesting thing to go back over all of your travel artifacts and organize them in a way that is fun and helps you recollect your adventures. That's something that's kept my adventure spirit going for now. I mentioned last week that I've had a number of different strategies to remind myself of the feeling of traveling without actually traveling yet. This is a tough one. It's been an interesting situation, and what else can I say? Do I want to dance today? I do. I think I'm going to assume that I did at least 5+ minutes in the previous set, so I'm going to start dancing now. Yeah, I'm feeling it. I might come back to my talk about my coins and my other such travel things. Let's see. This time I've choreographed to my head instead of to a particular song. So I'm just going to pick a random song from the YouTube free audio library. Some of these are so long. I hardly have anything that long. To be completely honest, I'm feeling sore-ish in my body, so it's gonna be one of those days, a struggling day. More. feeling on the song for this particular choreography here. I'm gonna go through songs today. Alright, half-baked choreography, it is what it is. I'm gonna just call it, because some days you feel in it and some days you just want to call it. What am I going to end off with? Yes, so I'm actually looking right now at a ledge full of those tiny sand bottles. I have larger bottles of sand from many different deserts around the world, Arabian, Namibian, and part of the problem is that I need to work on my coding system because I've labeled them in a rough manner in a way that I thought I'd be able to decode later, but I'm mistaken, I think. I also took video captures explaining which bottle was from which country. The reason why is many of the bottles, they're tough to label with their plastic. And sometimes you're just traveling so quickly. There's so many things to remember. Collecting things, labeling things, having fun. That's an important thing. Having fun during your trip is always number one. So I manage all of these other cute projects while I'm in these countries. Number one, having fun. So I'm gonna maybe dance a little bit without music. I mean, again, that was my choreography. It was rough. It's probably be something I'll practice during practice week next week. But I do like the scheduling and the goal of doing a new choreography, as in creating a new choreography, and just presenting it as it is on the second Wednesday, because it is a fun way to force activity, creativity, and all of the things that I think one needs to be happy and healthy during this pandemic. What else am I going to say? Yes, so I think for the time being, I will continue to be preoccupied by my shadow box projects, because once you start organizing your travel artifacts, you want to keep going because you have creative themes that you come up with, and more importantly, you find a way to upcycle boxes that are hanging around the house. I'm surprised, but they make these boxes of chocolates and other such things so sturdy, and in some ways that's sad, because for something that's so perishable, we take up a lot of petrol and other of the Earth's resources to be able to transport the things to us. But in other ways, if people are going to comp me gifts of such, I will upcycle and reuse as much as possible, because it's a fun way to prevent something from filling up a landfill or even using up recycling machine resources. Having an aesthetically pleasing way to thematically represent your adventures. So that's going to be it, I think, for this week. I think chunked together, I probably have about 30 plus minutes, or 30 right on the dot. We'll see how the different platforms decide to treat the separated vlog. I just feel immense sense of happiness looking at the artifacts. Of course, there's also a little twinge of regret that I still have to be struggling like everyone else through this pandemic, but it is what it is.